Welcome back to another edition of TN Toys. Again, we're looking at part 2 of older Heroclix. So that's any sort of Heroclix that are from these sets in particular. And so these are all the pre-carded Heroclix. So anything that has like any of those wackadoo special powers, any like tarot cards and rally die and all that. I think the game got a bit too confusing for me personally. It's not Warhammer. Do love and respect both the games as they have evolved, yes, but it's just not my play. I didn't enjoy it, all the extra this and extra that. Like, you basically need an abacus next to you, or a calculator if you're more modern, obviously, to figure out what you're doing. And half the time, you're reading rules. Which, okay, you were doing that in the non-carded era, but to a very, very small extent. So half the time playing is spent reading an encyclopedia of this power does this, and this card does this card does that. So I'm old school, so I'm looking at the older pieces, anything pre-carded, anything. If you want to look at anything sort of more modern or talking more modern Heroclix, it's actually a channel I came across, Warboard Gaming. Very early channel, very new, but they cover lots of like new characters and sort of what's up and coming. So if you want to talk future, I'd say look at that guy, check him out. He seems to be okay, he seems to know what he's talking about. But for me, old school, old guy, grumpy, wants his old toys to be able to play with again. Because if you're trying to play these old pieces versus the new guys, let's just say, you're not winning. You are not winning that game. Unless the other person has rolled double 1 for their entirety of their game, and you've rolled double 6 the entirety of your game, then you might stand a chance of winning. But let's face it, the odds of that are not on your side. They are just not. So, as you can see, some of this I have already playtested. So, I wasn't going to do this after a playtest. I was going to do it before, but I've sort of been tied up doing other things other than YouTube videos. So, one thing we did playtest, me and a good friend, we playtested the Inherent sidestep for anything that was pre-carded using sets which I've shown. And it seemed to work. It seemed to work really well for all the characters. Yes, there is a big gap between Infinity Challenge and Supernova and the 2099 set. Like, the powers are just more. There were just more powers on the Supernova stuff, and obviously newer ones were invented between the gap of Infinity Challenge and Supernova. So yeah, the game did change within that 5 years as well, but try and keep it as a blanketed rule as possible. Again, these things will be playtested, we'll playtest back and forth. If it does have to be blanketed per set, then that's something else we'll have to look at. But at the moment, it's blanket rules. We've only got one older character that's still Supernova, and that's a Donald Blake, so I've actually only got one to playtest with. But it does work with some of the other things here. So what we're looking at today is obviously Inherent size set. Seemed to work really well against those newer pieces that had activation clicks. So we're going to have a look at them. So what have we got here? We've got Colossus, good old Colossus here. Now back in the day, characters like the Hulk, Wolfsbane, Colossus you see here, and even some of the Fantastic Four characters. We had Ben Grimm, Sue Richards, Sue Storm, sorry, and Johnny Storm. But before they became Fantastic Four, they had their human version. Is shown on the dial with like non-powers and non-this. So there was two options here. You either go in, you ignore activation clicks, which 90% of them do appear at the beginning. But there are some pieces where they go down to an activation click, which is an activation to sort of revert back to, let's say, their human self, and then they go back up again. So she's a bit of an anomaly, and that is the Jennifer Walters Esquire from, funny enough, Supernova, where she starts off as She-Hulk, and then she goes down to Jennifer Walters, and goes back up to She-Hulk. Now, ordinarily, if you would look at these pieces, you would, in the modern era, you'd rock up, 14 defense, right, he's done for, have him, done. 3 clicks damage in, he's already on 8 attack, 8 movement, and 14. Oh, the 14 defense. How useless and pointless that is in today's game. So anything below that is basically 14 and below is completely pointless in the modern game. You would not even stand a chance looking at one of the more modern pieces versus these older guys. So that will lead on to another thing that I've thought of as well. And then me and my friend, we did go back and forth as to how we want to manage that. But we're looking at activation clicks for the minute. So the idea is there is something called a stop power. Now, okay, yes, there are some characters that ignore that, but that's fine. They are few and far between. So, for the sake of argument, what we're going to try and do is anything that's an activation click here, they take damage, and that works as like a surprise transformation type thing. So you'd stop on this click here, just so you're not taking 5 damage, and Poor Colossus is basically less than useless to the person on your team. So my in-house rule for the unauthorized Heroclix powers for the older sets would be a stop click for any character that has an activation click. There's not that many, I think about 90 or so. I have actually done a list of them, but I can't remember what page I put it on this damn spreadsheet. I'll have a quick little look for you now whilst I'm still nattering away. Yeah, what have we got? So it's about 63 characters that I've managed to sort of calculate together. That's just Marvel. That is just Marvel, so I should say that. That's just Marvel. So 63 Marvel older characters with an activation style click. And then there are other outliers like Sage here, where she goes down into a non-aggressive, a passive sort of click, which is acknowledging of that character's superpowers. So there is that aspect which I want to try and not annoy people that like this kind of thing, but I'm looking at from the aspects that to try and make these pieces more competitive in the more modern game, there has to be some changes. There has to be some changes, because even looking at Destiny here, 0, 0, 0, 0, but even the legacy card sort of rectifies that for this Destiny character. So let's look at the Destiny legacy card here. So yes, I even changed it to, so instead of a 0 attack value, they gave her an attack value of 9 that lasts the entire piece. That is a great idea. That is brilliant, and it was all instead of normal damage, deal 1 penetrating. So again, instead of 0 damage and 0 attack, it's 9 attack, 1 damage. What I'm also trying to sort of put across is stop clicks for activation powers, and no defense below 15, and no attack below 7. And any 0 damage values is +1. Okay, this does sort of change up so how some things are actually comic accurate. So we will look at Judge Death in this instance, older piece from the old indie set. Again, these guys need to be redone. These guys should be redone in the modern world. But as it is, this is the only way you can get Judge Death. So with those changes, give him inherent sidestep, gives him some form of mobility, which in the playtest it actually worked. It actually worked really well. And then no damage below 7. Now, this is where people might get their knickers in a twist. So 7 and below. My friend was arguing 8 is better, with a 16 defense being better. And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know, because of the rookie experienced veteran element of the older game, it sort of makes you think, well, why would I bother ever playing, like, let's say the veteran, if essentially the rookie does the same with 16 defense and 8 attack. So I'm saying 7 as a happy medium. Again, maybe at a playtest level, maybe just the rookie and the experienced will have the 7, and then maybe we can look at veterans having the 8. Yeah, not a blanket, sort of blanket starts getting skewed at that point. So we'll try the blanket power, but if it doesn't really work, and then anything that's a unique and an LE, or a mail away type thing, a promo type figure, again, that would need to be looked at and reviewed as well, because some of the unique characters, taking the original Cyclops from Infinity Challenge, the standard Rev Cyclops is an older version of Cyclops, whereas the unique is actually the younger version. So where does that lie in the sand? Do you this one is this power, but and then the next one next to him isn't that power? It's difficult because of how inconsistent the older pieces were and how things were. But as it stands, we're going to try a blanket playtest. So again, looking at Judge Death, so he should be a ghost, he should be a spectre at this point. But again, to make the game, because pushing is no longer a thing, from what I understand, pushing is out of the game. Can't push characters, which again makes using activation clicks and these zero values, it makes it difficult for you to actually want to play these older pieces in the modern game, especially as the stats stand. Look how terrible some of these stats are. So to make these clicks semi-functional within the modern game, 7 attack, 15 defense, 1 damage. It's not a lot, but it adds something more to the game, so he's not just literally floating around as somebody that the other player will probably not even bother targeting. Or, because he can't do it, he literally can't do anything. He has no powers that can stop another character. Like, it's phasing, so he can walk through walls. He's impervious, right, so he's a little bit harder to hit, you could argue. Okay, you can outwit, you can cycle blast it. And he's got Battle Fury, which is again, off from an attack perspective, stops shape change, getting counters on you. So, if I was the opposing player, I would just leave this guy. If he's on this click, so like he has zero threat to me. He can walk around, maybe get in the way, but again, with a breakaway, you know, most characters are 4, 5, and 6, or 5 and 6. You're probably going to do it. So yeah, so to make these clicks a little bit more relevant in the modern game, 7 attack, 15 defense, 1 damage. And again, that will make this character, who is one of the most hated Heroclix pieces, because he's absolutely pointless. You would never pick up this character and play it, because he's absolutely pointless. The experienced original Puppet Master. Look at this. So the new rules, my new rules are the unofficial rules. So these are not gospel. You do not have to take these. You do not have to play these rules. This is purely just an idea, thought pattern. If you want to play test it, you try it. I'm playtesting it, and it seems to be working. We've got to do a lot more work. But again, this piece, like he had mind control 0, so you have to roll a critical hit in order to hit anybody with this character. And what are the odds there? And look at this. So the idea here is he would literally be 7 all the way through, 15 all the way through, and 1 all the way through. It does not make him a great piece. He's still not a great piece, but it makes him more functional within the game. So if you do have him at the bottom of your drawer, so he's got 50. So working with the video one, part 1. So and it's not for all characters. Some characters I've had to sort of do a bit of jiggery pokery in regards to the point values. So some of them are slashed 50% and then rounded to the nearest 5. I think I had to change up the Puppet Master a little bit because it just didn't really work. His way price points didn't quite work. So let's have a look. The rookie, 10 points. Experienced, 15 points. Veteran, 20 points to play. So I've actually gone lower for this guy to make him semi-functional within the game. So yes, so the idea is for 15 points, this Puppet Master, 7 all the way through, 15 all the way through, 1 all the way through, 15. Again, we'll play test 7 versus 8, 16 versus 15, but definitely +1 to any 0 damage values. And that basically is that video. If there's any questions and anything I've actually forgotten to mention whilst I've been going through this video, because I have delayed this, don't forget to love, like, subscribe, and ask away. And I'll see you guys and girls in the next one.